So one of the most obvious ways to build customer loyalty is to build a customer loyalty program. Now, I prefer not to use the term loyalty program, but more a personalized incentive program for members or just your best customers. So the idea here is that you set up a series of incentives that encourage customers to do the things that are important to you and that align with the brand experience itself. So these sorts of things could involve things like tiers, points, achievements, like gamification, rewards, or other benefits. It's really important that you steer clear of very globalized incentives like 10% off for members or a basic tiers program in its own right. You really want to focus on incentives that are activated when a customer does or doesn't do something specifically themselves. So that way you're only investing in these incentives where it makes a difference to each customer's behavior. You also want to avoid incentive programs that work on your timelines and run more like campaigns, but rather focus on the customer's timelines. So they come into effect when a customer buys something or just soon after to encourage a next purchase very quickly, or they focus on lapsing events. So if customers haven't shopped for a certain number of weeks or months, then the incentives start kicking in at a higher and higher level to encourage them to come back so you don't lose them as a churn statistic. The other thing to focus on are onboarding incentives. So incentives that encourage customers to do the right things early in their relationship with you, the brand. So making sure that they explore different channels, they buy online or in store for the first time within a short period of time. They encourage a second purchase within 90 days. And also they encourage customers to explore different categories or services that you might offer. So the sooner you can get a customer to try different parts of your brand's offering, the more likely they are to understand and realize what role this brand can play in their lives and therefore become more loyal over time. One way that's often overlooked to encourage loyalty is to actually show customers what they've spent with you, a purchase history. We've seen brands move on from paper receipts to e-receipts, but not often do you see a chance where a customer can go to a brand's website or to a member app or in store, and for the brand to be able to show that customer their full and complete purchase history over months, years, decades even. The advantage of doing this is that it allows customers to see how much they've invested with the brand so far and actually encourages them to think twice before shopping somewhere else where maybe that record wouldn't be kept on their behalf. It also acts as a really good jump-off point for new purchases and new discovery experiences. So if you've bought a certain shirt and you like that shirt and you just want to buy it again if it's still in stock, or maybe you want to buy shirts that are similar to that one because it worked really well. For things in the apparel category, then knowing the size of the things you bought just by seeing your previous purchases can just be a huge time saver and confidence builder when customers are buying online where they can't try these things on. So yeah, the idea that showing customers what they've bought, what's in their wardrobe, what's in their cupboard, what's in their lounge room, can really build a lot more loyalty than a lot of brands give it credit for. And I'm surprised that we don't see enough of it out there. So just make sure your customers can see what they've bought, see what they've invested with you as a brand, and that the people that serve them can also see this information easily whenever your customers shop with them. Now, we can't talk about customer loyalty without talking about one of the greatest tools that we've got in our arsenal in communicating with our customers, and that's your email marketing. Now, email marketing over the years has become a bit of a fix-all go-to solution where anything the brand has to say, put it in an email, send it to as many customers as possible, hope that not too many people unsubscribe, and watch the dollars come in the door. It's a pretty straightforward process. But outside of those campaigns, what we want to do is focus on the communications that really matter, that really cut through all of that because they're more focused on the customer's own behavior as opposed to what you're trying to sell them. Now, onboarding is the most important one, making sure that welcome sequence is more than just a basic thanks for signing up, but really focuses on explaining to the customer all the different things they can get out of the brand. So if they join online, talk to them about your in-store experiences. And vice versa, if they join in store, then make sure that the onboarding sequence shows the customer the advantages of also checking out your online channel if that's what you have as well. The other thing is to make sure that with your promotional campaigns that you look at dynamic scaling of the cadence of emails you send to customers. So if customers are opening most emails you send, then by all means keep them in the regular email cycle. Maybe you've got 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week even. As long as they're engaging with those emails, it's fine to keep them in that frequency. As soon as customers stop engaging with emails though, just drop them down to once every 2 weeks or once every month. As soon as they start touching a few of those emails and opening them though, you can start bringing them back into the high frequency emails. So just make sure you've got that dynamic scaling going between there so you don't burn out your customers on this really important communication channel. Another thing to look at with email marketing is looking at mixing up the way that you present your emails. So one really overlooked opportunity that works really well is sending emails that look like emails. Get rid of all the flashy design and the colors and images and focus on sending a message to one customer from a person that explains something that they may have earned or they're entitled to, or that you missed them and you'd like to have them back. But they're surprisingly effective emails that look like emails. The other thing too is mixing up your from names and from senders. So if you're sending order confirmation emails, password reset emails, marketing promotional emails, incentive earned emails, think about whether they all need to be from the same brand, or same brand name and same sender name and same email address, or whether they can come from different email addresses, and whether those templates can look a little bit different. There is something to be said for making everything look consistent, but at the same time, if every email looks like a marketing email, it's hard to cut through the more transactional and personalized emails from the generic emails that you're sending to all customers. And lastly, segmentation is very important in your email marketing, but don't go too crazy with it. Remember, once a customer signs up to your brand, they really are a segment in their own right. They've decided that your brand is something that they love, that they want to hear from you. So unless you're a full department store with lots of different categories and different products on offer, then your stories are your stories. And if your customers have signed up to hear about them, then they probably all want to hear about them. I see a lot of people complain about batch and blast, but really if you're a niche brand in your own right, then if you've got good news to say and new products to talk about, then you probably want to tell most people anyway. So be careful about going too clever with your segmentation. The other thing you could do is also focus on the idea that inviting other members is something that's quite a privilege. So rather than just having an open referral mechanic like we discussed then, we can focus on the idea where a customer might earn the right to invite other customers into a certain status within your customer database. So you might have a special VIP status within your customer groups, and that those VIPs have earned that fair and square by shopping a lot or engaging with your brand. But what you could say to them is, by spending a certain amount of money over again, or by doing other things that are important to you, they could earn more invites. Now, we've seen this a lot play out in certain platforms as old as Gmail when that first launched, and as recently as Clubhouse. The idea of that exclusivity and velvet rope really does appeal to the person who's not only receiving the invite, but also the person who's giving the invite. So I could earn 2, 3, 4 invites just by shopping or visiting the website or opening emails. So the more I engage, the more invites I get, because I've proven that I'm a brand advocate, and then those invites can invite other customers to not only be members, but to get certain access rights that I wouldn't get otherwise if I just shopped on my own. Lastly, for brands that have a low frequency purchase rate, so maybe something like car tires or bedding or furniture, it's really important to lean in hard to referral and advocacy. When a customer decides finally to purchase with you and they give you their details and they make quite a large purchase, and you know that you're not going to really see them for months, if not years, it's important in that next window of 2 to 3 weeks that you really lean into the referral and advocacy component of your communications and your incentives. If the customer's just spent money with you, they're really proud of their decision. You've got a small window where that advocacy will be genuine. They want to tell their friends and the people that they influence that they've made a big investment in a brand that they care about. And this is the time to get them to advocate for you. So anything you can do to encourage that advocacy in that short window post-purchase is a really good chance to make the most of that customer engagement you've got. I mean, never give up on that customer. They will be back, even if it's 2 or 3 years. And over time, the accumulation of doing this well can really build your customer asset. Another way to encourage loyalty with your customers is to focus more on your omnichannel experiences, to really think about how customers can pick up where they left off when they move between online and in-store or vice versa. There are a few things that you can implement that really will help encourage customers to always go to you as their first point of choice when they're trying to solve with a particular category that you serve. So ideas here are things like omnichannel wish lists. So the idea that a customer can start building out a list of considered products that they're considering buying, maybe online. So as I'm visiting the website, viewing 20 products, adding 5 products to my wish list, and maybe even adding 2 or 3 products to the cart. Yes, you might have an abandoned cart email or some remarketing that allow those products to follow me around the internet. But what you really need to do is make sure that when I turn up to store, that the store teams or the customer, have access to what I've viewed, what I've liked, what I've considered adding to the cart, and that information is available to me in the store context so that I can pick up where I left off, maybe look at those products for real and decide hopefully to buy them. And it's important from an attribution point of view that you acknowledge that the online store played a role in facilitating that final purchase. Another really important flip side to this is things called interaction receipts. Now we see a lot of e-receipts going on for people that go into store and buy some things. They might get an e-receipt sent to their email or as a text message, but we don't really see much of the concept of an interaction receipt. So a good example of an interaction receipt online is an abandoned cart email or an abandoned browse email if you happen to be logged in when you're browsing the website. So think about that in store. If you're in store looking at 5 or 6 products, maybe using your camera on your phone to scan them into a wish list, or the store staff serving you, bringing things to your change room and you saying whether you like them or not. When you leave the store, then it would be great if you could get an interaction receipt. So here are the things, here's the store you visited, here's who you were served by, and here are the products that you liked, that you didn't like, that you were considering, as well as maybe the things you bought with the e-receipt as well, but also showing me the things that I didn't buy but spent time interacting with. So that way I can choose to pick up where I left off again online later tonight or later this week and buy those products. And again, making sure that the store gets attribution for those purchases because they were part of the discovery process. For a lot of these things to work though, it's really important that you start thinking about how you're going to build experiences online and in store where the customer is encouraged to log in or identify themselves at the start of the visit. So making sure that the website encourages customers to log in when they first arrive on the website. So maybe it's by offering them exclusive product ranges, by offering certain features like pre-order and wish list. All of these things are really important to make sure that you can start recording what the customer does on your website explicitly against their profile so that you can help them pick up where they left off. And same for in-store, whether it be through basic COVID-safe check-ins, or any other sort of log into the store to view your wish list type experience that you might want to do. Or even just the script that the staff use to ask customers, have you shopped with us before, and look up their profile in some sort of clienteling experience. Being able to identify customers at the start of their visit with the brands, either physically or digitally, and then making sure that you take the time to track what they spent their time looking at is a really good way to show that you care about what their product discovery experience, as opposed to only caring who they are when they've got their wallets or their cards out and they're ready to shop. We see a lot of brands spending time trying to understand the sentiment of their customers, whether that's through FPOS-based satisfaction surveys, NPS surveys, or mystery shopping. There's all sorts of ways that brands can find out how well their brand experience is going in the eyes of their customers. We actually think that asking people to give feedback about transactions, about products, about locations, or about the brand in general is a really good way to encourage loyalty. It's a way to show that the brand cares what the customer thinks about them and the service that they provide. You want to get away from only asking these questions when you want to know them. So if you're running an annual NPS survey in August and that's when you run it, this can start colouring the results. So what we want to move to is a more rolling approach to customer satisfaction or CSAT and NPS, Net Promoter Score surveying. So think about building in CSAT into your everyday experiences. One great way to do this is just by adding it to the e-receipts or interaction receipts that you send customers. So at the bottom of every transaction receipt or interaction receipt that you send to a customer, just ask, how well did we do? Thumbs up, thumbs down. When the customer clicks one of those options, save it against that customer record, against that transaction data, which will be attached to a store, which will be attached to a staff member. They can add an optional comment, which you can route off to your customer service platform to respond accordingly. But most importantly, the customer can just give that CSAT response when it's fresh in their mind because they've just made a purchase. It's a very quick interaction that can be saved, and when it all gets accumulated up across lots and lots of customers, you have a very, very rich data set that you can slice down to a store and even staff level to really help talk to your staff and stores about how they should be engaging to increase CSAT. Customer satisfaction is a leading indicator of future sales success for a store, whereas transactional results are a trailing indicator. So it's really important to start moving away from transactional success to customer satisfaction success. NPS is another good one that you can just schedule. So maybe it can be sent about 2 or 3 months after a last purchase, but only ever once a year or even less. So that over time, you've got a rolling NPS score that's always being surveyed across customers when they're in a gap between shopping, and then you can track that NPS benchmark over time to make sure that the sum of all your CX efforts is equaling a positive trend in your NPS score. Lastly, by asking for your own CSAT scores or NPS scores, once you've assessed that the customer's in a good place with the brand, that's the time to encourage them to go after third-party reviewing platforms like Google Places or Yelp reviews or any of those sorts of things. So you first validate that the customer's in a good place and that they're happy. If they're not in a good place, give them the ability to write comments directly to you that go straight to your customer service platform. But if they are happy with the service you provided, then send them off to the relevant Google Places or Yelp Places reviews or other reviews platforms that you've got that are more public. That way you're only routing customers that are having a good experience to those public review locations. I hope you enjoyed that short video about how you can build customer loyalty with your brand's best customers. Talk again soon.